The clock struck midnight as Arya sat in her dimly lit room, her heart pounding like a drum. She couldn't explain why, but an overwhelming sense of dread consumed her. The silence of the house felt deafening, and every shadow on the wall seemed alive. Arya had always been confident and composed, but lately something had changed. Panic attacks had become her nightly visitor, each one more intense than the last. Tonight was different. As she clutched her chest, struggling to breathe, she realized she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. She needed answers, and more importantly, she needed help. Arya's days were a stark contrast to her nights. During the day, she wore a confident smile, convincing everyone that her life was perfect. Her co-workers admired her for her calm demeanor, and her friends envied her seemingly perfect lifestyle. But behind the mask, Arya was a storm of emotions. She couldn't pinpoint when it started, but she knew that the fear she felt at night was slowly creeping into her days. The smallest inconveniences would make her heart race. It wasn't just anxiety. It was a silent battle she was losing, and no one around her had a clue. One evening, after a particularly overwhelming day, Arya found herself in front of a therapist's office. She hesitated, her hand hovering over the door handle. Admitting she needed help felt like admitting she was weak, but the weight of her anxiety was unbearable. Taking a deep breath, she walked inside. Dr. Mira, the therapist, greeted her warmly. For the first time, Arya spoke about the sleepless nights, the pounding heart, and the fear that refused to let her breathe. Dr. Mira listened patiently and reassured Arya that what she was experiencing was treatable. This was the first step toward healing. Dr. Mira explained that Arya was dealing with generalized anxiety disorder. She described it as a constant fight-or-flight response triggered by everyday situations. "It's not your fault," Dr. Mira said gently. "Your mind is trying to protect you, but it's overreacting." Understanding the condition gave Arya a sense of clarity. For years, she had blamed herself for being weak. But now she knew it wasn't weakness. It was her mind playing tricks on her. Dr. Mira suggested therapy sessions, mindfulness exercises, and journaling to help Arya regain control over her thoughts. Arya's journey wasn't easy. The first few weeks of therapy felt like climbing a steep mountain. She struggled to focus during mindfulness exercises, and journaling brought up emotions she had buried for years. But one day, something clicked. During a mindfulness session, Arya focused on her breathing and felt a moment of calm she hadn't experienced in months. It was fleeting, but powerful. For the first time, she felt she could take back control. That night, she slept peacefully, free from the suffocating grip of anxiety. It was a small victory, but to Arya it felt monumental. As Arya progressed, Dr. Mira encouraged her to confront the situations that triggered her anxiety. Public speaking had always been her biggest fear, so she joined a small workshop to practice. The first session was terrifying. Her hands shook and her voice wavered. But as the weeks passed, she grew more confident. Arya learned to embrace the discomfort rather than avoid it. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Dr. Mira had said. It's acting despite it. Arya began to see anxiety not as an enemy, but as a challenge she could overcome. Just when Arya thought she was making progress, a bad day sent her spiraling back into panic. A critical comment from her boss triggered self-doubt, and by the end of the day, she was back in her room, clutching her chest. The familiar fear crept in, whispering that she hadn't truly healed. But this time, Arya didn't give in. She recalled the techniques Dr. Mira had taught her, breathing exercises, grounding techniques, and positive affirmations. Slowly, the panic subsided. Arya realized that setbacks were a part of the journey, not the end of it. The turning point came when Arya decided to share her story. She started a blog to document her journey, hoping to help others battling anxiety. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life reached out, sharing their struggles and thanking her for her honesty. Arya realized she wasn't alone in this battle. Her vulnerability became her strength, and her story inspired others to seek help and embrace their healing journeys. For the first time, Arya felt like she was making a difference, not just in her life, but in the lives of others. Months turned into a year, and Arya was no longer the person she used to be. Anxiety still lingered in the background, but it no longer controlled her. She had learned to live with it, to manage it, and even to thrive despite it. Her farm, which once seemed lost, was now flourishing. Arya felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. The silent battle she had once fought alone had transformed her into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Arya's journey taught her, and others, that struggles don't define us. How we respond to them does. Anxiety is a silent battle many fight, but it can be conquered with patience, courage, and the right support. Her story became a beacon of hope for those who felt trapped in their fears. Arya's message was simple, yet profound. You are stronger than you think. Seek help, trust the process, and never stop believing in your ability to heal.